So we are ready for one last step here in our work with lines, and I've kind of foreshadowed this all along. We first began plotting lines by just picking points, and now we're going to use this other form. So we saw the standard form of a line was something like this. This is just a particular example where the x's and y's are both on the left side. Well, we're going to rearrange this so we get something like this. And this will be called the slope-intercept form. And the reason this is valuable, the standard form is good for finding the intercepts, but this, with the power of the slope, it's going to say, and this b is going to stand for the y-intercept. And so we'll have the y-intercept, which is a point, and we'll have the slope. And so with a point and a slope, we already know that we can graph the whole line. So it'll be much faster, much more efficient. So once again, the b here is going to be the y-intercept, where you hit the y-line, and the m, we know that what's in front of the x is going to be the slope, and that'll give us everything we need to graph. So let's see what we've got. What are they doing? Okay, I was trying to figure out what they're trying to do here. So I'm not going to follow what they're doing here. We're just, what are the pieces is what we're getting at. So if I have this equation here, the 2 is my slope, and the 1 will be my y-intercept where I would hit the line. Now there's a bunch of these, so I'm going to keep going. We're going to identify the important pieces here. That's my slope, and my y-intercept would be -1. So let me show you this one. So -1 would be my y-intercept, and my slope is up 2 over 3. So there's my y-intercept. It's a +3, so I'm starting there, and my slope is in front of the x, so it's up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. And that's all we need to be able to graph the lines. Okay, I'm not sure what they keep asking here, but so we've got it again. This is my intercept, and there is my slope. Just remember, we can turn that into -3 over 1. So my y-intercept is right here. So in the last slide, they showed that as a point. So that would be the point, 0, -1. But if you were graphing it, you're just going to go down to -1. And then my slope is in front of the x. It's the 2/5, so up 2 over 5. Now again, there's a bunch of these that we're going to graph, so I'm just going to talk you through this part. So there's my y-intercept. So it's the point 0, 1, or on the graph, it's just this spot right there. My slope is going to be -4/3. So down 4 over 3, down 4 over 3. All right, so we're in the standard form. So one of the issues will be, the hardest part about this would be the algebra to rearrange this and so that we can get it into slope-intercept. Let's see how they've done. Yeah, let me just do it. So I want to get y alone. Now we've talked about this before. I'm going to treat y like it's the only I don't know and everything else is a number. So if I want to get something, I want to get y by himself. That's our goal. That's how the y-intercept form works. Do you see, I would need to get rid of him first. So here's my factor puzzle. I would leave that last. If x was a number, I would just subtract him. So let's do that. And now I've got 2y equals -x plus 6. Now, let's get y by himself by dividing by 2. But if we do it to one side, we have to do it to the entire other side. So right now I have this, -x plus 6 all over 2. Now I believe we've seen this before too. I'm going to need to give the 2 to everything on this side. So he's going to go to in front of the x, and he's going to go to the 6. You can't just give it to 1. Now it's like there's a -1 in front of the x, so I'm going to have -1/2 x, and the 2 is also going to go be divided into the 6 and get me +3. Now, what they wanted was the y-intercept and the slope. Well, I'm in the slope-intercept form now, so it's easy to tell. That's my y-intercept and my slope. So my y-intercept is 0, 3, and my slope is -1/2. Okay, so let's do that again. If this was a number there, if x was a number, he would leave first. I want the factor puzzle last, so I'm going to subtract x from both sides. If it was a number, that's what I would do to get rid of it. Now we're going to divide one side by 4. We've got to do it to the whole other side. So I'll show you this again. So far this is what I got. The 4 has to go into both of them, and there's like a -1 there, so I get -1/4 x, and the 4 has to go into the 8, gets me a +2. Okay, a little more complicated one, the same idea. I want this alone. I'm going to act like this whole thing is just a number. That whole group is just a number. Well, I would subtract it. If you do it on one side, you got to do it on the other. Now, we got a factor puzzle, so we divide by 2, we do it to the whole other side. So this is what I've got. Now the 2's got to go to both of them. It's the only way I can do it. Now there's a -3 there, so the best I can do is just do this. And I'm not going to turn this into a decimal because it's a slope, so I want it to be a fraction like that. The 2 is going to go into the 12 and gets me a 6. Okay. All right, now we're ready to start graphing them. So this is pretty straightforward. Let's see what they gave us. We're going to use the y-intercept as our starting point. We know that if we have a point in the slope, we can do this. So -2 is my y-intercept on the y-axis. So there is my starting spot. And my slope is 4. But I'm going to turn that into 4/1 so that I can go up 4/1. Let's see how they did. Yeah, so they're showing us here. They've gone, here's our starting spot, 1, 2, 3. They went up 4/1. And they could do it again. They only did 2, but I think they should do it again. Connect them, and there's our line. So my y-intercept is 1, so right here. Now, my slope is in front of the x. It's 4, but I'm going to make it a fraction. So I'm going up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1. So over 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do it again, and over 1. So up 4, over 1 more. Sorry, it can't do points. I don't know why. My pen be there. Okay, connect them, and I've got my line. Okay, pause if you want to try this on your own. I'm going to do my best to graph this again. My starting spot is -3. My slope is 2/1. So up 2/1. Up 2 more over 1. I've got 3 points, and I've got a line. All right, let's let them graph one. That'll be a little prettier. So my y-intercept is 4. Now the only thing they're doing here is they're tricking you a little bit with the slope. My slope is -1 because it's in front of the x, but let's make that -1/1. So here's my starting spot, down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1. Got 3 points, and you can connect them. 1, 2, 3. So my starting spot is -3 on the y-axis. My slope is -1/1 because I want to have everything I need for a slope. So down 1, over 1. Now let's do our old trick here where I'm going to give the minus to the bottom instead. Remember, I can do that. So I'm going to go up 1, back 1. And there's my line. Okay, you always pause it if you want to. I got a bunch of the same thing here. There's -1. My slope is -1/1. So down 1, over 1. Is this the identical problem? So I did this again where I gave it to the bottom instead, just so it would be easier to graph. So I'm going to start here. I'd go up 1, and I'd go back 1. And okay, my pictures are terrible, but it would have been a perfect line if I had it to scale. Okay, this is redundant here. We're just getting different variations of all the same thing. There's my intercept, -3, down 2, over 3. And again, they could have done it again. So let's suppose we had done 2 over -3. We would have gone up 2, back 3. All right, my y-intercept's 1. Going down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 2. So down 5, and my slope is negative 5 over 2. So down 5 over 2. And just because I don't want to make this, I'm going to use the trick with the negative on the bottom, so then I can go up 5 and back 2. Okay. So I've got negative 2. My slope is negative 3 over 4. Down 3 over 4. I'm going to do my trick again, make it 3 over negative 4. So I can go up 3, back 4. All right, so all we've got left here, I think, are that we have a more complicated one where we're in standard form, and we need it to be slope-intercept. So I'm going to solve this. Well, let's see if we can let them do it. Yeah, I'll use theirs. So they sent this whole group to the other side. If I was doing a factor puzzle, I'd want that left. 4x, if he's just a number, I'd subtract him to the other side. Now we divide both sides by negative 3. Yeah, that's weird how they showed that. It should be like this. They've divided both sides by negative 3. Now the negative 3 is going to go to the negative 4, and the negatives will cancel. It would be 4/3. The negative 3 is going to go to the 12. Do you see that would make negative 4? It's like dividing a positive by a negative. So I get a y-intercept of negative 4. I get a slope of 4/3. So I'm at negative 4, up 4 over 3, up 4 over 3. So a little bit harder work to set this up into the right form, but I want this to leave the room. I want y by himself. We're going to treat him like he was just a big number. I would subtract 2x from both sides. Now, there's a number there. It's negative y, so it's like a negative 1. So I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 1. That makes y now. Now, I'm going to give him to both. Negative 2 divided by negative 1 would become a positive 2. And I'm going to leave it over 1 because it's a slope. And negative 1 is going to go into 6. That would make that negative 6. Okay, from there I have everything I need. Going down to negative 6. My slope is 2 over 1, so up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Okay, pause it if you want to try to solve this by yourself. But I'm not in slope-intercept form, so I need to put it there. So I'm going to get rid of this whole group as if he was just a number. Do it to one side, I got to do it to the other. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of a negative 2 in front of the y. That's the number that's there. I'm not changing signs. I'm dividing by a negative 2. That gets me y. So now I'm giving the negative 2 to both of them. Negative 3 over negative 2, the signs would cancel. That's just going to be 3 over 2 because of the two negatives. Now negative 2 into 8 is going to be negative 4. And now I'm in slope-intercept. Up 3 over 2. Up 3 over 2. I'm just going to approximate it there. But okay, they're getting tricky here in that they've given us a decimal. Don't let that trick you. Isn't at 0.5 the same as 1/2 x? So I'm just not going to use a decimal. I'm not going to fall for that. I'm going to use a fraction instead. They're the same thing. So let's just suppose this is 25. I would go down 1 over 2, down 1. Oh, I'm sorry. I'd go up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. Yeah, so it was a positive slope, so I should check that I have a positive line going uphill. As I go from left to right, I should be climbing, and I almost messed that up. Okay, so same thing over and over again there, but it's super important. This is a foundational skill that is absolutely expected to the rest of math, and we don't tend to plot points as we move forward. What we're going to do is use the slope-intercept form where we have y alone, and then whatever's in front of the x becomes the slope, Whatever number is on the end is the y-intercept. We can use that y-intercept as our starting spot, and if we have a starting spot, we can build the rest of the line using the slope.